Hello and welcome into another edition of Inside Badger Hoops. Ira Bowman, myself, and JC Rockhill here with you on the Snow TV YouTube channel. And we're going to discuss today the unfortunate and heartbreaking loss and end to a phenomenal and historic season for Coach May and the Snow College men's basketball program.
Yeah, just a moment that I had to look back on at least 2-3 times because I was in disbelief of the ending, but sadly it's very heartbreaking.
The Badgers fell to the 17 seed Connors State. Badgers entered the tournament with a first round bye as the number 1 seed. Connors State won their first round game against John A. Logan and then continued their streak into the game against the Badgers. They played very well defensively, offensively, as we'll get to here soon. And the Badgers fall on a near midcourt buzzer beater from DJ Dormu. It was probably 2 steps inside the half court line. Beautiful behind the back move to get open, and he knocked down that shot to send the Badgers packing in an unbelievable game.
Yeah, and a phenomenal effort from Connors State. We cannot give them credit for really taking them to the Badgers the way they did, really establish themselves defensively like you mentioned, and that final finish right there was just all-out effort, just a phenomenal end for them.
The Badgers in this first half got off to a hot start, 7-0 lead after 2 buckets from Sean Feltz in the paint, a dunk and then a jump hook and a three-pointer from Mark Brown Jr. And then after that, it was kind of back and forth. Connors State started to claw their way back into it. And then in the last 8 minutes-ish of the first half, Connors State was able to play some excellent defense, and they took a lead going into halftime, 33-28. And that was the lowest halftime point production from the Badgers this season. The previous low was against Midland College, who was the only other loss for the Badgers this year in their 32-2 record season. That halftime score for the Badgers in the Midland game was 36. This one's 28, so definitely a big-time difference there. The 62-point total in the game, 63-62 was the final score. The 62-point total is also the lowest the Badgers have scored in a single game this entire season. The previous low was 70, also in that Midland College game, and that 77 loss out in Texas.
Yeah, and again, the credit goes to Connors State in this one. Their defense and defensive intensity were just out of this world, honestly. They came out with a lot more fire than the Badgers right there. I think the one thing that worked against the Badgers in that stretch, the end of the half with a 33-28 deficit, was the fact that they were more settling for contested threes and really just sort of struggled to get back in the rhythm that they started with. And Connors State, on the other hand, just picked up the intensity and were able to neutralize everything.
Yeah, and it wasn't just the contested threes. The Badgers are also getting heavily contested at the rim by at least 2 defenders, it felt like, on every single attempt, which made it really hard for the Badgers to finish around the basket, leading to their lowest point total in the half of the season.
Yeah, and that's another significant thing is when you're shut down, not just on the outside and the perimeter, even with 15-footers, when you're neutralized completely in the paint as well, it's just going to be an all-around struggle. But I am impressed with how the Badgers handled it, the fact that they were able to fight as much as they did and still be able to come out here with just a 1-point loss. It was very impressive on their part.
Yeah, and Connors State did an excellent job keying in on Isaac Finlinson, who didn't score in the first half, 0 points, and then was able to finish with 8 in the game, had a few buckets there in the second half, went 0 for 4 from 3 in this game. So an unfortunate performance from Finlinson after his historic season, scoring over 1,000 points in his career here at Snow College. He had a good game in the second half, still only finishing with the 8 points, but Connors State's defense, the way that they blitzed and got out and pressured the ball screens and the dribble handoffs, making nothing easy for the Badgers, I thought made everything really difficult for them on the perimeter.
Yep, no doubt. And I think it was something that the Badgers really were not expecting in terms of defense. I'm sure they were expecting to be able to fly around like they typically do in these games, but Connors State just utilized their speed and agility to really keep up with the Badgers, and it really, really paid off for them.
Yep. Connors State finished with 22 paint points in the first half to just the Badgers' 10. Typically, that's something we don't see out of Coach May's teams, getting outscored in the paint.
Yeah, definitely. I'm typically the one that expects Sean Feltz, Kyle Lemke, and Aaron Bliss to really go to work down there and be able to establish their paint offense and defense out the gate. But in this one, it was just an all-around struggle.
Yep, it was. And then in the second half, the Badgers got out. It wasn't a slow start. They were able to score and then kind of keep it back and forth the entire second half. The Badgers outscored Connors State in the second half 34-30. to keep it close. But that unfortunate buzzer beater ended the season, as I mentioned. That second half, really, the last 9 minutes of the game was at 8:54. The Badgers took a 50-47 lead after Chance Trujillo knocked down his fourth three over the past few minutes. He got hot in the second half, ended up being the leading scorer in this game for the Badgers with 15 points on 4 of 6 from the three-point line, I believe is what he finished. He had a corner three, gave the Badgers a 50-47 lead, and after that, it was almost like both teams were trading buckets back and forth.
Yeah, no doubt. Just an offensive explosion from the Badgers, again, very impressive, but I think it was just Connor State's response to that allowed them to keep the momentum in their corner.
Yeah, Connor State plays a very slow-paced style of game, and they brought that into this one, and it really played to their advantage because Connor State did an excellent job of, even when the Badgers didn't score, to walk the ball up the floor. Unless they had like a real steal or super long rebound fast break opportunity, it was Connor State going to walk the ball up the floor every single possession, use time off the clock, and then work the shot clock to get a shot, whereas the Badgers typically like to play a faster game where they're getting up the floor, long outlet passes, and then taking the first good available shot in the half-court offense, which is what the Badgers did in this game. But when you're playing in this type of a contrasting style of team, it doesn't benefit a team to really just take the first quick shot because then you're allowing a defensive rebound and then you're wasting more time off the clock and then they use even more time to get their shot. And so it really just kind of bit the Badgers in the back of the butt.
Yeah, and again, the credit goes to Connor State in this situation because with that slow-paced offense, they were going against a very strong Badgers defense as well. So the fact that they were able to control the ball as well as they did and really just sort of neutralize all the talent around the defense of the Badgers, both in the paint and outside the perimeter, with guys like Trujillo guarding the perimeter and occasionally the paint, and guys like Lemke and Feltz guarding the actual paint, and then outside the perimeter again, you have Mark Brown and Coleman Ford. So the fact that they're able to go against a team that has been so consistent on defense when they have to be, it was just really, really impressive.
Yeah, Connor State outscored the Badgers 32-24 in points in the paint. The three-point shooting in this game was kind of interesting. The Badgers they started 4 for 6, finished the first half 4 for 13, while Connor State went 1 for 3 from the three-point line in the first half and finished 3 for 12, I believe. 5 for 12 from 3 for Connor State, while the Badgers finished with double-digit. It was
9 for 27.
9 for 27. So I knew that they were up there almost in that 30 range.
Yep.
And the Badgers outshot Connor State in the first half from 3 and then outshot them from 3 in the second half as well. But Connor State really, really utilized their paint presence and really tried to do a lot of their damage inside the three-point line. And the Badgers' extra 4 more threes just wasn't enough to get past that.
Yep.
Also in this game, Connor State took 19 free throws, made 14 of them. The Badgers went 7 for 8 from the free throw line in this game. It was a very, very physical game on both ends of the floor. There was a lot of calls that went both ways, and there was a lot of calls that could have gone both ways and weren't called. But it was a physical game that I don't think the Badgers were expecting. And I saw a decent bit of talking to the refs rather than just playing through contact from the Badgers in this game. And I thought that physical play from Connor State got to the Badgers mentally.
But yeah, no doubt, because it's typically not something that we see from the Badgers all year. They typically just say, okay, I got the call on me, let's just move on to the next play. In this game, I did see a little bit more arguing with the refs, and it was just a really uncharacteristic trait of the Badgers, and it really didn't work in their favor.
Yep. Talking with Coach May last week, he's really prided himself on the toughness of this team, and they've been a very, very mentally tough team this entire season. Unfortunately, one game like this where the Badgers have a decently off shooting night. It wasn't the worst three-point shooting night of the season. The Badgers were, I believe, 33%, and the worst three-point shooting night of the season was down at like 25. So they weren't close to their lowest of the season, but still not a great shooting percent from the field even for the Badgers in this game, leading to this loss. And you know, when you're not really as focused, or you're struggling with things like not getting calls, it's a lot harder to play on the offensive end and have that kind of confidence.
Yep, no doubt.
So the Badgers in this game, leading scorer was Chance Trujillo. As I mentioned, he had 15 points, 5 of 8 from 3, 5 of 10 from the field, so all of his makes were from the three-point line. McKaden Adams is the only other player for the Badgers in double figures, 12 points for him with 4 rebounds. Isaac Garrett did a great job defensively. He finished with 4 fouls, had 13 rebounds and 7 points with 3 assists as well. So he had a pretty good game there and played good in the post late. He had the game-tying layup that made it a 60-60 ball game.
Yep.
Where with I believe about 30-ish seconds left or just below 30-ish seconds, Connor State brings the ball up here late at the end of the game. They miss I believe it was a mid-range 2 or shot around
somewhere
the rim,
around there.
what I believe it was. Offensive rebound goes to Connor State. They swing it around, get one more shot with about 6-7-ish seconds left. It was a right wing three-pointer. I couldn't remember who shot it. Goes off the backside of the rim. Very long rebound, bounced out behind the three-point line. And Mark Brown Jr. reached for it, jumped for it from the free throw line. He was held a little bit, and that's what the referees called. So Mark Brown Jr. went to the free throw line with 5.4 seconds on the clock in the game, made both free throws, timeout Connor State, and then the ensuing buzzer beater for DJ Dormu led to the end of the Badgers season.
Yeah, just all around heartbreaking. I remember just watching that end. I was in pure shock and disbelief for about 2-3 minutes. I had my hands just on the back of my head, just looking at my phone screen, just in pure shock. Just a all-around phenomenal performance from Connor State. Credit to the Badgers for really sticking with them and not giving up whatsoever, making it a one-point game. So the Badgers deserve a lot of credit. But overall, I mean, the Badgers have had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, I don't think you can take this one loss, even if it is your first game in the national tournament. Coach May's first trip to the national tournament as the head coach here for the Badgers, and leading with that, ending with the season with that one loss, and the second loss of the season is definitely a heartbreaker. But like you said, you can't take that and have that be the end-all, be-all for this season, because it was a historic season for the Badgers. They broke the all-time program record for wins in a season. They broke the all-time record for the longest win streak in the season with 25. That win streak ended yesterday, obviously, with the loss.
Yep.
And they also broke the program record, I believe, for the most points scored in a season. They averaged 91 points per game this year for 11th in the country, with top 5 shooting percentages in the 3 shooting categories. 51.3% from the field. They were 38.9, so really 39% from 3, which was top 5. And then second in free throws in the country after being first in the country for most of the season at 77. So a historically good offense for the Badgers, a historically good season, and the one day that you have your lowest scoring output of the season happens to be in the national tournament, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Also for Connor State, you got to give credit to their players in this game. They had 4 players in double figures, 16 points for DJ Dormu after hitting that 3. He was 3 of 5 from 3. He had 3 of the 5 made three-pointers for Connor State. And then Edwin Daniel had a phenomenal game, had 13 points and 18 rebounds with 5 blocks for Connor State. And I think his presence in the paint really flustered Mark Brown Jr. going to the rim, Isaac Finlinson going to the rim, and Isaac Garrett he's not afraid of anything. He's always up there in the paint playing against whoever it is. But I think just his presence there as a help defender, shot blocker really made the Badgers struggle inside the three-point line as well as outside.
Yep, no doubt. And he did a phenomenal job playing clean defense as well, because those drive-ins are really sort of the cornerstone, I want to say, of this Badgers offense, and they've done a phenomenal job this year of getting those drive-ins off of the dribble and being able to draw fouls from the help defense. But Edwin Daniel just played phenomenally clean defense, got those 5 blocks, like you mentioned, 18 rebounds, 13 of which were on the defensive end, so a lot of credit goes to him, I think.
Yep. Badgers in this game, like I said, the offense was being forced to be played in the half court, and it was not all that pretty for them on that end because of the way Connor State defended.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this game, was that the contrasting styles of play and the way that Connor State forced the Badgers to play a physical half-court game, slow-paced, really was the difference.
Yep, it was really unstoppable force going against an immovable object for a majority of the game, I think.
Unfortunately, that's one more historic record that the Badgers have made this season, just the bad way. Connor State becomes the first 17 seed to ever beat a number 1 seed and the NJCAA National Tournament. But like we said, you can't let that one win really define a historic season.
Yep, no doubt.
And other news for the Badgers, Isaac Garrett received his 21st, I believe, offer from a Division I school, coming from a high major conference from the ACC. That was Florida State University Seminoles. It's the biggest offer from any of the highest major offer for any of the Badgers on this team, and I believe the team is upwards of 40 Division I offers now.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but if my mental math is correct, I was told a month ago that it was 30, and then 2 days later it was 32, and then
Yep.
a week later it was 35, and it's just the Badgers have been getting more and more offers since then, so I would be shocked if it wasn't upwards of 40 Division I offers, but don't quote me on that.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, this roster has well deserved all of those offers, from Mark Brown Jr. to Isaac Garrett. Like we mentioned, I mean, this team was just phenomenal players, both mentally and physically. They were very well earned of this number one spot in that national tournament, and this is very well offers, very well deserved.
Yeah, you mentioned being number one. That was also another record broken where the Badgers had made number one in school and then held it for the longest amount of time in school history. So that was another record that the Badgers had broke this season. A phenomenal season that we had a lot of fun covering and watching. We had a lot of fun delivering it to you guys here, viewing on the YouTube channel, on the Watch It Snow TV YouTube channel here on Inside Badger Hoops. Any more thoughts, JC?
Just thank you to all those that watch. Congratulations again for the Badgers on such a phenomenal season. Really looking forward to next year. It's going to be great.
Yep, congratulations to all the Badgers that have offers moving on to Division I programs. I mean, Coach May will lose 4 sophomores this season and possibly 2 freshmen, and possibly, no insight from me, just possibly Chance Adams, who both have offers to larger schools, could leave, could not. Unknown at this point, but a phenomenal season from all of them, and just it'll be interesting to see what happens next season with Coach May's team, but a phenomenal season with a heartbreaking loss that everybody here on campus has been talking about.
Yep.
So thank you very much for watching every episode, or however many episodes you have watched, of Inside Badger Hoops. It's been a phenomenal season, had so much fun delivering it to you guys here on the YouTube channel. We wish you all a phenomenal summer and a phenomenal spring sports season for everything else going on in your sports life. And hopefully we get to see another fun season in March Madness here in a couple of weeks, or in a couple of days, I should say.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for watching the final episode of Inside Badger Hoops from Ira Bowman, JC Rockhill, my partner, and my cameraman and producers, Dylan and Dalton. Thank you very much for watching.